Well, thanks very much. It's a real privilege and honor to be here at OIS and going to be talking about our molecule CTZ1. Citrus Therapeutics is a company we formed about 6 years ago. I'm a retina surgeon in Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm also director of clinical research at Erie Retina Research. My PhD is in pharmaceutical design and drug discovery, and my MBA is in healthcare and resource utilization. So we'll kind of jump into it. So, with AMD, we've always thought of it a little bit as a kind of a sequential disease progress. But once you start thinking about it as a simultaneous disease evolution, it becomes a little more interesting in terms of dry and wet profiles evolving at the same time. And although we have treatments for wet AMD, they're still associated with a very high disease burden. And when you look at the dry AMD, great therapies are on the rise, will be coming out soon, but it's still very much limited in terms of what we have available to us. So where CTZ1 starts to think about this simultaneous disease evolution on the oxidative stress side and also on the angiogenic modulation side. So a strong antioxidant to prevent the reactive oxygen species degradation that we know exists in AMD, but then really an idea of not just blocking angiogenesis, but thinking about modulating so that you balance pro and anti-angiogenic disease drivers. And so I'll kind of explain that a little bit further. In terms of the market's massive, right? This is the biggest disease of vision loss in the developed world, with probably close to 300 million people will be affected as we get past 2040. So what is CTZ1? CTZ1 is a first-in-class vascular disruptive agent with a new mechanism of action, and so it's created from two distinct pharmacophores that are going to address these two very different but yet simultaneous disease process at the same time, an antioxidant and also as a nicotinic analog. And this is what nicotinic analogs are special for is actually that they can balance these kind of pro and anti-angiogenic factors. So if you think of a choroidal neovascular membrane, its development, if you could stabilize that process early on, you don't necessarily have to abort it or inhibit it completely. And so CTZ1 is really taking and ligating these two structures together. And so CTZ1 is a multi-pharmacophore small molecule with this novel mechanism of action. And it can stabilize these retinal endothelial cells and modulate aberrant choroidal angiogenic mechanisms. And really, this idea of combined drug mechanism of action, we see it in oncology. Not as many fields as you think, but my PhD was on something called rational molecular fragmentation, which is the idea of combining drug mechanism of action in one molecule. So this is where kind of Citrus Therapeutics and CTZ1 has evolved. In 2017, finally the lead candidate structure-activity relationship was finalized. We had legal confirmation of our IP, and it took us a couple of years to get synthesis verified and stable and predictable. And then in 2021 was when preclinical testing led to a proof of concept and positive data across multiple in vitro and cell line assays. And then earlier this year, we submitted a U.S. patent application and trademark application with the U.S. Office for the Therapeutic for treatment for both dry and wet age-related macular degeneration. I'm lucky enough to be up here, but I can't thank enough the leadership team, which involves Mr. Almeida, who's our CEO, and then Dr. Eric Chin, who's a chief product officer and co-founder with myself. And we've had great partners and collaborators along the way at various labs in Canada and the US that have allowed us to push forward our idea. And we're really excited to bring the next phase of both animal and early human data in the future. With that, thanks again. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I look forward to working with a lot of you in the future. Thank you.